Last year, we were bombarded with scientific studies telling us how bad we've made the climate, but you wouldn't know it if you watch corporate media. Turn on MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, you name it. Turn them on, and a new report shows just how little coverage these networks gave to one of the most important issues of our time. Now, you've done story after story after story on this. This is, you do DeSmog blog, you're a writer for them as well as National Trial Lawyer magazine. You followed this, and all along the way you would ask the question, where's corporate media on this? Time and time again, that would be kind of the theme in your article. Pick it up from there.
They're non-existent, and the biggest reason is because big oil, coal companies, whoever it is, they're massive advertisers. So that immediately is going to shut down any kind of meaningful discussion about climate change. The second, and this was admitted on Twitter by Chris Hayes from MSNBC, 6-8 months ago, something like that. And he said, the reason we don't typically cover climate issues is because, the folks say it's a ratings killer.
Yeah, well, and I want to talk about that just a second.
And he wasn't saying like, I don't do this because nobody. He was exposing, this isn't my decision.
Yeah, the producers are told by management, don't do a climate change story because people don't want to know. Now, I got to tell you something. My experience on America's Lawyer, for example, when I do a climate story, it's like crickets.
Yeah.
When you do a climate study, a climate story on Ring of Fire, it's crickets. When we do an article in National Trial Lawyer magazine, what is that about? I mean, how could you have children and grandchildren and not say, this is pretty important stuff. Maybe I ought to read about it. Do you think there's some theory that it's denial, that I don't want to think about it, that this is just a bunch of bunk and somebody's trying to sell me something, and I don't want to think about it because it's too scary, that by, in 20 years, we're going to have an extinction problem that we can't reverse?
I think a lot of it has to do with the complexity of it. Science, especially when you get to climate science, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to understand. But I think it's also people are scared. They don't know what to do. They also don't want to be told that you've got to change the way you are. I mean, we saw that recently.
Now, what do you mean by that? That's important.
And it's a huge part of human psychology, and that's why there was this huge problem recently when Republicans captured a narrative that wasn't even true to begin with. They put out something that shouldn't have been there, and they screwed up.
The AOC thing about we don't
take away the you can't eat meat anymore.
You can't eat meat, don't have children,
and
can't build a house.
And so Republicans did what they do best, and they jumped on the narrative, which I wish Democrats were as fast as Republicans. And the talking point is, liberals want to take away your meat. Everybody's got to be a vegetarian, and people say, "Well, I don't want to change. I'm not going to change who I am."
Okay, so your point is you can't frame it in a way. I call it the reptilian mind. The reptilian mind is I analyze everything about how it affects me. That's reptilian process of thinking. Okay, and your point is when you put it in those terms, that the new economy could be built around the idea of solving climate change. We can build a new economy, we can have new jobs, we can have new research, we can be a new, totally new kind of economy. That's more sellable than the idea, well, don't drive a big car, don't eat meat, don't have children. And unfortunately, this is what this AOC, Cortez, this is what she's actually projecting. And that's what, even though it's not accurate, the new Green Deal is not all that accurate on that type of thing. That's what the Republicans have picked up on, and it's going to be even tougher. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, and part of the problem, too, is that, and climate scientists have spoken out about this, but you had several documentaries come out recently that said that consuming meat is the biggest producer of carbon and methane, and it's the biggest destruction of the planet. Climate scientists came out and said this is 100% wrong. They said, you know what, it's a part of it. Yeah, it's a part of it, but it's a very, 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 very small part of it.
But it's what sells.
We can still consume the meat, and if you choose not to, fantastic. But the big thing is get off fossil fuels. That's number one, always has been, always will be.
Right.
If we do that, that alone, switching to renewable energy, more hybrid and pure electric vehicles, we can reverse this.
Okay, I don't want to discourage you, but out of all the posts that we have on any particular day, if this discussion is up there, this will have the lowest number.
It will.
And their planet is melting, and they want to, they'd rather talk about hate Trump. They would rather have a hate Trump article than an article that talks about this is your future. Maybe you want to pay some attention.
Right,
to.
something they can laugh at, like, wow, this guy's an idiot, but ignore the thing, hey, we've all screwed up the planet and we've all got to fix it.
No, you're the idiot because you're not keeping up with what's going on.